Welcome to I Hate It Here, the podcast for HR and people professionals, making the hardest job in the world just a little bit easier. I'm Hiba Youssef.
Not everybody can be 100% every day, and that's okay. It's impossible to be 100% every day. It's a good reminder. It's, in this navigating life as a now husband, a now parent, and all this stuff, you're like, oh, I don't have that support system I'd always wanted. You got to walk the plank on your own, and you get pushed off the plank unexpectedly. That's definitely shaped my leadership style, where it's a lot of cheerleading in the most flattering way. Like, I trust you, you got this. Jump in.
If you've ever screamed at your ATS, you're not alone. Team Taylor gets it, built for recruiters who care about great candidate experiences and their own peace of mind. Beautiful career sites, automation that actually works, and UX that doesn't make you want to throw your laptop. This is what hiring looks like when you're ahead of the curve. Welcome back to another episode of the I Hate It Here podcast. I'm Hiba, your host, resident hater, and favorite HR person on the earth. I think if I say that enough times, I will eventually incept you into thinking I am your favorite HR person. A quick note on today's episode before we get into the content. Today's episode includes conversations about the loss of a parent, a sibling, and close relatives, as well as the grief that follows. If that's tender for you right now, please take care of yourself in whatever way you need. Potentially pause the episode, come back later, or maybe skip this one entirely. If you're still here with us, it's going to be a good one. I'm going to try not to cry while even doing this intro. God, here we go. I'm already starting. This season, I've talked about all the things that quietly shape who we become at work, the part of our lives that don't necessarily show up on LinkedIn or the resumes, the performance reviews, or even in the stories we tell about our own careers. And today we're going to go somewhere most workplaces never touched: grief. Both of us, me and today's guest, have lived through losses that have changed us forever. I've lost my father and my brother, and he has lost his father and cousins. And these aren't just timeline events, they're identity-shifting moments. They alter your ambition, your patience, your outlook on life, your boundaries, your sense of belonging, everything. I feel like my life radically changed after experiencing grief for the first time. But in HR, there's not really a place people can go to talk about their grief. And I'm not necessarily sure they should, but it is something that we should be aware of, because it's not something you can just package into a 3-day bereavement policy and out of office message. So today we're talking about what loss actually does to someone, how it can reshape your leadership, how it shows up in your work long after you return to your desk. And it's not really meant to be a sad episode, even though I might cry. It's meant to be a really honest one. This episode is about the love that is underneath the loss, the way grief becomes a teacher, and what it looks like to keep showing up every day, even when you're carrying something heavy. So let's get into it. Joining me today is George Boone. George Boone is the Director of Organizational Effectiveness and Talent Management at Mitra Tech. He is passionate about employee development, enabling performance, advancing company culture, building strong leaders, and mental well-being. George leads global initiatives focused on best-in-class new hire orientation, team building, leadership development, insights, discoveries, and situational leadership. Prior to finding his true passion in people development, George spent 10 years building servers, deploying code, providing technical support, and fixing general computer issues in the cloud operations and IT support spaces. George's life outside of work powers his productivity and informs his unique approach to HR. He strives to set an example for his 2 young sons, Everett and Sawyer, and provide a great life for his goofy dogs, Bodie and Scout. Behind it all is George's wife, Hallie, who has supported him from day one. And yes, he is related to Daniel Boone and Benson Boone. George, welcome.
Hi.
Benson Boone, please tell us more. Really, though?
Yeah, so my dad is Benson's grandpa's brother. So Uncle Lewis, as I know him as, he had a son who then had a son, Benson Boone. So Benson's my first cousin once removed.
Wow.
I have a huge family, 37 first cousins,
That's right,
50 plus other cousins. It's just countless, yeah.
Because I have 20 plus first cousins. And then the other funny part is I don't know, in Arab culture, maybe we don't do once removed. So whenever people actually explain that, I'm just everyone's my cousin. Like in our
Yeah,
culture, like everyone's related to us.
yeah, they're all cousins now, and we like the second cousins are probably going to be having kids soon. Like it's just there's so many across. Like the first generation Boones spans like 40 years, so it's just there's a ton of kids out there.
And Daniel Boone, I guess that one's kind of cool and historical.
Yeah, fifth grade uncle, and I like. When cancel culture really popped up, I went back and like, okay, did he do anything bad? And like, there's
Yeah.
nothing out there that says he did anything bad. So like, yes, we still are very proud of that. And yeah, my dad went by Danny, so we were very proud of the Daniel Boone heritage and history.
I love that when you had to go back and Google it, because I'd be doing that like every other day. I'm like,
Yeah,
did we cancel this person? Did they do something horrible? Did I remember history correctly? Like, I'm really in it right now.
yeah. There's a lot. I mean, yeah, he traveled with Lewis and Clark, but then settled in Missouri, and then his brother Squire is who we're direct lineage to.
Wild. This is just like such not a thing from like, 'cause my parents were born in Egypt, right? And so like, I'm like, hey, do we know any famous people? My parents are like, no. No, and my mom's birthday is like November 1st, and she's like, "Yeah, it's either my birthday or like the day that the guy came to town to record if the kids had been born that day or not." And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, I could have been born like at any time in the month, but they only recorded the birth dates on like the start of the month or the end of the month." And I was like, "Okay, interesting."
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, you learn a lot. I think it's cool. I love people who can like trace their history, though their lineage back is like it's good. It's cool. I like history.
My mom is very into genealogy, and she's always like, family ancestry or whatever, familyhistory.com. She's always like, oh, here's this queen we're related to. And I'm like, are we really? Like when you go back 400 years, like how related to this queen or king or whatever that you found are you related to? Sorry, Mabel, I'm not making fun of you. Like,
We're not making
love
fun of
you.
you. We love you. We appreciate you. Honestly, that's like such a cool pastime because that would be something I would do if I could trace it. But like, I just keep telling people, like, yeah, sure, maybe we're related to like the Egyptian pharaohs, and people are like, how did you figure that out? And I'm like, I don't know. We just gotta say it. It just
Yeah, you just
works
go
out
back
though.
far enough, and
I just
there's not really any records out there, so you can kind of say whatever.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad we're already laughing because I have a feeling there's going to be some tears today too, or maybe we'll just laugh the whole time. But I'm so honored to have you join me here for this episode. From like the first conversation we had, the first time we met, I really felt like we were kindred in a way that we understood each other, that in a way that a lot of people don't actually understand me. Even my friends who haven't experienced the loss that I have in my life, I think still struggle with that part of my life and my identity. And it's been interesting meeting more and more people who have lost a parent, have lost a close relative, and just that kindred feeling you have when you know someone's really like been through some shit with you too.
Yeah, but we're both babies in our family too. Like, so
Yeah.
there's like that whole stigma or stereotype around that people like to throw at you. But yeah, it's tough being a part of the Dead Dad Club, the club nobody wants to be a part of. It's not fun.
I always, when people tell me about things, I'm like, welcome to the Dead Dad Club. And they're like, you're so, they're always like so taken aback. And I'm like, I can't change it. I literally can't change it. And so I kind of want to start the episode there. Like when you think about the losses you've experienced, your father, cousins, what part of the grief story do you think shaped you the most as a person?
Oh
I
man,
know
I
I went heavy.
yeah, so much, and it's been 10 years for my dad and a couple for my cousins, and yeah, I was already tearing up when you were first talking too. This is a fun topic for sure. Like when my dad got sick, it was very unexpected. My dad, he suffered from diabetes for 30 years of his life, and it was just like a part of who he was at that point. I never really knew him without having diabetes, so he was always worried about his blood sugar and his health and just overall general everything. But I in 2015 in April, I moved to learning and development out of cloud operations, like a weird transition. People don't do that
Yeah.
normally. And then 2 months later, I got married to Hallie. And then we got back from our honeymoon, and my dad was diagnosed with leukemia. And
Mm.
again, being the baby of the family, like my brothers were like, how are we going to tell George? Like he just got back
Oh,
from his honeymoon, that whole thing.
same. Same.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And it was like, I remember when it happened, I talked to my mom on the phone, and then I had a kickball game that night with my friends from work. And I was usually the pitcher, and I was like, I don't want to pitch tonight. I didn't tell him. I was like, I don't want to pitch
Yeah.
tonight. Can I just play outfield? And I just remember crying in the outfield, like, because we could tell something was wrong at my wedding, but we didn't know the full extent of it. But it
Ugh.
just, because we were like, oh, his blood sugar's just low. Like, he ended up leaving the ceremony early, like, to just get home. He didn't want to stay and clean up, which is fine. He's the dad of one of the people getting married. He can
Yeah.
skip out. But it just, so many life changes, getting married, changing my job, and then him getting sick, and then 3 weeks later passing away. It was just like so sudden, so unexpected.
My God. All at once. I don't think I could have handled that. I mean, I don't think I ever told you this. My dad also had diabetes. So like interesting, another invisible string
Yeah.
between our stories. And he passed away 3 weeks after I had started a new job. So I was like already in that weird transition period of my life. Like I'm starting a new job. I'm like, all these people have never met me before. I get to be me. And I remember I was at like a new hire orientation lunch with two people who I'm still friends with today. And they had just met me. It was like a lunch that I was going to with them. And at that lunch, I got the phone call from my brother to tell me that my dad had passed. And I remember looking at these two strangers who literally had just learned their names like minutes before we sat down to lunch. And I like looked at them and I said, I'm so sorry. I have to go. My dad died. And they just like looked at me and were like, what? And I was like,
Yeah.
I have to go. And I like walked back to my office in a daze, walked right into my boss's office and looked at her and I said, I'm so sorry. I have to go. My dad just died. And she was just like, what? Like she wrote now and she tells the story. She's like, you were so calm. And I was like trying not to burst into tears, like in as I walk into your office. But the life changes we have, it just, that stuff adds up. And I think also makes it really hard to process the thing that just happened.
Yeah, because you already have so many like thoughts, like new job,
Yeah.
totally
You
new
just
team
got
for me.
married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you like, you get married, your dad walks down the aisle behind you or in front of you, and you have all these memories of that time. And then, you think it's going to keep going, because one of my nephews, he was a baby at our wedding, and he's 11 now. And it's just crazy to go back in time to that, of like seeing how Papa Boone was, as we called him, like how he was
Yeah.
with all those kids. And you're like, I can't wait till he can do that with my kids one day. And you don't have that anymore. And you kind of figure it out, like being a newly married person, and moving into HR. Like my dad, he actually hated HR, so it's very funny. Like we missed out on a lot of like joke opportunities, I would say. So just stuff like that you look back on, and you're like, how much different it would have been had things gone differently.
Yeah, so different. It's so hard to not get caught up in that too. Like, so I always say I didn't start my career in HR either, and my dad was a business. He had his PhD in business, but it was specifically business management. So, like, he looked at how to run companies efficiently, what management models work, like how to inspire and motivate people. And I didn't really get into like the thick of my HR work around that topic until after he had passed. So I feel the same way you feel, where I'm like, there's so much of my day-to-day work that my dad would be fascinated about. Like if he was here, he would have been so interested in the things I'm currently doing. And it just feels like so wild to me that like I missed that opportunity with him. But at the same time, I'm like, is this just like what legacy is? Like I just ended up doing the exact thing I grew up and watched my dad teach classes on. Like he taught students on all these things about how companies can run efficiently and be better managers and what management styles new people are doing and productivity and all these things. And that ends up being my job. Like it's kind of wild to me. Like I get sad about it sometimes that I'm like, he's not here to talk to me about it. But then the other piece of it, I'm like, maybe I'm just like carrying out the legacy.
Uh, it's funny you have that, because mine, yeah, is the exact opposite. Again, he
Your dad
hated
hated.
HR. And like one of his coworkers, or his mentee, came to the funeral, and he told some stories about Danny Boone at work. And he got in a fist fight with his boss one time in the parking lot, and he never told us this. Like it was over a disagreement. Like my dad was a brilliant man, self-taught mechanical electrical engineer. worked in manufacturing his entire life. And his boss got in a disagreement with him, and Danny was like, no, this is how we need to do it. Like, if you want to challenge me here in front of everybody, like, let's take this outside. And they did take it outside,
What a
and
goat.
he punched his boss, and like, he didn't get fired. And like, what an HR nightmare that was. And like, I joke when I say he hated HR, because I saw when he would go into the HR office, and the way the people in that office just loved him and lit up when he came in, and he like, played it off like, oh, whatever. I think the biggest thing he just hated was expense reports. So I guess that's the legacy
Yeah.
I'm carrying on, because I hate expense reports, and it's my least favorite
Same.
part of my job. So
Same.
yeah.
I'm wild on how did they recover after the violence? Like they were like, were him and his boss like friends, and this was like kind of like funny and
Absolutely not.
cool?
No,
Oh,
no.
this was serious.
This was serious. My dad, like, there's so many Daniel Boone tall tales out there. He like wiped oil from a machine on his boss's shirt one time in front of a bunch of executives, because he was trying to dress him down in front of executives. And like, Danny worked there for 20 plus years, so everybody knew what he was. They knew how smart he was. It was one of those brilliant assholes that you hear about. Like, that
Yeah.
was my dad, and like, these are the people
It's
I'm
okay.
combating now. So it's very funny.
Yeah. Again, legacy. You're just literally every single person who's sent to you to be a brilliant asshole is just a reminder. Like it's like a sign from your dad. He's like, don't forget
It,
what I was.
that and my youngest son too is very stubborn, and he looks like me, so he looks like Danny Boone. So it's
Yeah.
just like, I got that legacy too at home. It's very fun.
It's so fascinating. When we first started talking about grief and work, how did it show up at work for you? Because I feel like that grief is one thing in itself, but then when you have to like get yourself together to go to your 9 to 5, to open your computer and like send an email, it really just manifested in so many weird ways for me. So like, how did it show up for you at work?
Yeah, did you get really comfortable with disassociating at first, and
Yeah.
just kind of like, yeah, that fog is just
I
over
was
you at
kind of
all
mean,
times?
actually. I was just like very short and curt with people, and I just like did not want to try.
I don't think I was mean. I mean, I probably was. It just happens. Like, you're unintentionally short with somebody, and like, we see it now. Like,
Yeah.
oh, wonder what's going on with them, and it could be something as simple as traffic. But um, I Accruent was where I was working when my dad passed away, and it was a very small company at the time, like 400 people ish or so. And like, everybody knew who I was, not to brag, but it was just, I was friends to everybody at work. So like, they knew what was going on. My boss was very sensitive to the situation, but it was tough. Just
Mm.
trying to attend an ATD course online while this was going on was just a nightmare. Like, having to show up every week to that. Um, Sometimes you just needed to go find a quiet space, and then there's other times where you don't have that quiet space, and you hear, like, you at lunch with
Yeah.
a couple of new coworkers hearing about it. When my cousin Heather passed away, like, I was in Milwaukee for an in-person acquisition orientation meeting with like
Okay.
70 newly acquired employees, and I was about to get up in front of everybody and lead them through like a 45-minute session. And I
Dang.
happened to be scrolling through Instagram, and Heather's post of her passing away, like her significant other posted that she had passed, and like, I found out that way. And it like, have you seen Garden State?
No, but I
Okay.
know I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, people are probably familiar with like the airplane scene where he's like, the airplane is crashing, and like, he's just like sitting there, and it's just like,
Yeah.
everything's like foggy around. It felt like that, like the building was crumbling underneath me, or just like, my foundation, everything. Because Heather and I, she was, no offense to any of my other 37 first cousins, but she was my favorite cousin, and we had a bond like early on, and she
Yeah.
took me under her wing multiple times, and like, her passing away, like, and I didn't have a safe space to go to, because I had like 5 minutes till I had to get in front of an audience. And I remember texting my wife being like, what the hell? And she was like, you don't know what's going on yet. Like, let's just wait and see. Cause it was kind of like an ambiguous post that Pete
Yeah.
posted. And, I got the full story. Like, I turned off my phone, and I just shut down. I checked out, and disassociated for 45 minutes and went through this acquisition orientation. And then I told my coworker at lunch that day, and she started crying because I just broke. Like it was, and that happens at work sometimes where you have to show up and you have to be on stage, literal or figuratively.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was terrible.
My jaw's been on the floor the whole time for people listening, not watching me. My jaw's just been literally on the floor. I do not know how you made it through that presentation. I would have just been like, hey, I can't do this. There has to be somebody else to do this. And then I would have left. I say that now, but I'm also the woman who got food poisoning and then proceeded to facilitate an entire 3-day retreat like the next day. So like maybe I wouldn't actually do that. I'm shocked that you were able to do that.
Looking back, I'm shocked too, because I was like a puddle of a human being the rest of that trip. Like even when I did have to get up in front, like I had told a few people between my sessions at that point, so
Yeah.
they were aware of what had happened. And yeah, it was totally just checked out. I'm going to make a bunch of pop culture references, but it's like an old school when Will Ferrell's like, I just blacked out what just happened. Like that's kind of
Yeah.
how it was. Like I had gone through it so many times. I knew like what I was going to say at each step and went through it. And Priya, who was on my team at the time and still is, like I told her too. And she's like, why did you do that? And I'm like, I didn't want to because she had never done that before. I didn't want to put her in an uncomfortable, it's one of those things. Like it's the baby in us.
Yeah, it is the somewhat people pleaser, but I'm not a people pleaser. I said this on the last episode. Like I've gotten rid of that, but my youngest child tendencies sometimes do flare up where I'm like, I just want to keep the peace. It's less about people pleasing. And you and I talked about this. I'm like, I just want everyone to be peaceful and content. And like, we can have conflict. Let's just resolve it and move on.
Yeah. Keep the peace, path of least resistance. Sometimes it's the Larry David effect of like, I'm just going to do this kind of sort of thing and go with it and see what happens.
It's so interesting. When I lost my dad, I had a new boss, and thankfully that boss had lost, I say thankfully, but I don't really know if that's the right word to say her, but she had also lost her father a few years prior, like in her early 20s. And so here's me losing my father, and I didn't know a single person. Like none of my friends had experienced a loss yet. Nobody had lost any parents. I was the first of my friends. And my boss was the one who, when I came back, I was kind of just like a shell of a human for like months, for truly months, I think from like April to October. And I remember her sitting me down once and being like, you are so good at this job. Like you are destined to do so many great things, but I am watching you like struggle with your grief every single day, and you like need to get help. And she was like, I cannot help you. I need you. And she said, and to this day, I know this is not something you can do, but she said to me, you either need to go to therapy or you can't work here anymore. So you pick which one you want. And I remember being like, I don't think she can legally do that. And I went to therapy a week later for the first time in my life. So that should just show you, like, it was her way of saying, I know you care about this job. I know you want to stay and work here with these people. We all want to work with you, but like, you are not even yourself and you need to go talk to someone about it. And I remember the first time I went to therapy, I just cried for 45 minutes straight.
That was going to be my first question. What was that first therapy session like?
I just cried for 45 straight minutes. I was just like, I miss my dad so much. This feels so unfair. Like he doesn't even get to see all the things I get to do in my life. Like at that point I wasn't married. I was like, he wouldn't even get to walk me down the aisle, like hysterically sobbing for 45 straight minutes. I think the therapist said maybe 3 words. We were in person too, because this was like pre-COVID. So I was able to like go in person to a therapist, and she just like would hand me a Kleenex. Like every 5 minutes, she would like hand me a new Kleenex. And I'm laughing about it now, but it really helped me to go somewhere and to just like not shout, but like express how like angry and sad I was. And then like once I got that off my chest, like I was seeing her once a week for months on end. Once I got it off my chest, I was like able to actually show up to work with like a full cup. Like I felt like, when you play video games and like your power is like low and you're like that's what it felt like going through grief. Like the low bar was like always flashing. And when I started going to therapy and talking to somebody and just like listening to like the nice things she was saying back to me about like, my dad would be proud of me. This is like grief. Here's how you sort through it. Here are some healthy tactics to use. It slowly felt like that power bar like was replenished. And so when I could show up to work, I could actually show up to work as like the best version of myself, who's like processing the grief versus prior to therapy. It was like I was just showing up with like this massive bag of grief on my shoulders that I was just like chucking on my desk every morning. And then I was miserable.
It's sometimes, I relate it to like when somebody comes back from vacation at work and they're like, oh yeah, I could sure use a vacation from vacation. Like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need a break from the grief. And my boss didn't tell me I had to go to therapy, but I went to him and I was like, hey, I just need like 3 days off. Is that okay? Like after I'd gone through the
Yeah.
funeral and everything, like the 2 week period of losing my dad. And he was like, yeah, do it. Like he hadn't lost a parent at that time, but um, he gave me that space, and it truly was like, I don't want to do anything. I just kind of want to sit here and I just want to soak in this grief, because the more you put it off, the bigger the burden gets, the bigger the wave hits when it eventually crashes into you.
Yeah.
My boss came back to me years later after he lost his dad, and he was like, how do you do this? And I was like, dude, I don't
Great
know,
question.
man.
Great
Yeah.
question, right?
Yeah, he had like lost his dad within the last few months when we were talking. I was like, I have no idea. He was like, you're really good at it. I'm like, I don't feel like I'm really good at it. Like I think I just talk about it in a public setting and I'm comfortable doing that. I've gotten comfortable over the years, but it still hits really hard sometimes.
I'd be crying all the time. I like after my dad, I would cry like in Ubers whenever a song would remind me of something, or several times at CVS because my dad would always forget compression socks when he flew. So I would like go to CVS and just be buying something else, but then I would just like see the compression socks and I would like burst into tears. Like several times in CVS, people have been like, ma'am, are you okay? And I'm like, no, like I'm not okay. Okay. It's really
Yeah,
hard.
we used to make fun of my here he is right here. We make fun of my dad.
Cute.
That's me
God.
too. Kind of blurry, but he had
Love.
transition lenses, so we'd make fun of him all the time for that. But like little stupid things like that will pop up and be like, "Oh man, I miss dad. I wish I could make fun of his transition lenses." Or
Yeah.
you know,
We were just trying on glasses, my mom, my sister, and I, and every pair of glasses I put on, I was like, why do I look like dad? And my sister was like, because you look like him. I
yeah,
was like, okay. It was like so funny. Every pair of glasses I put on, my mom was like, your dad would wear those. And I was like, great, well, I'm gonna wear them now.
yeah.
So
I will never have an ironic or intentional mustache because I only ever saw my dad with the mustache, and it's
the
just too
Tom
much.
Selleck,
Yeah,
right? My dad had the
can't do
Tom
it.
Selleck in the 90s too.
Yeah,
I remember that. That was really funny.
yeah.
It's so interesting because I think look, like I was like living my life up until I lost my dad, but I do think my life is radically different post grief, post losing him, even post losing my brother, in a way that I don't think I would have ever understood. And I honestly think it's like made me a better person. It's made me a sister, a better friend, a better partner. I also think it's like made me a better HR person. And so when you're like navigating all of your grief and you're doing this, like how do you think it shaped the kind of leader you want to be? Like not to be corny, but I do think like I don't know, I feel like my grief has made me just like a better person sometimes. And so like how do you think that's shaped you?
It's a good reminder of we're all human beings. We all suffer loss, and it sucks in the moment. Adam Grant posted a couple months ago on all of his socials, like, not everybody can be 100% every day, and that's okay. Like, it's impossible to be 100% every day. It's a good reminder. It's, in this like navigating life as a now husband, a now parent, and all this stuff. You're like, oh, I don't have that support system I'd always wanted. You got to walk the plank on your own, and you get pushed off the plank unexpectedly.
Yeah.
That's definitely shaped my leadership style, where it's a lot of cheerleading in the most flattering way. Like,
Yeah.
I trust you. You got this. Like, jump in. Hey, I know we've been partnering on this presentation the last few times. You're going to do it on your own today. That's like a George Boone trick that Stacy and Jen are very familiar with. One current, one previous coworker. I love to push people off the plank and like, I'm here if you truly need it, but I don't think you need me at all. And like
Yeah.
that's kind of how it was with my dad, with Heather and my cousin Jordan. Like Heather, like she early on helped me be comfortable with who I am as a person. Like I remember when I was like 7 years old, they were visiting one summer, and she was like, why don't you smile with your teeth? You have a really pretty smile. And like that stuck with me. And it like, so I'm always like, okay, I got to smile with teeth, or so my
That's
RBF
so
doesn't pop
cute.
out. Yeah.
Soft smile. I also
Yeah.
used to not smile with my teeth, so I get that. A
Yeah.
soft smile.
And my cousin Jordan, he was just like a lover of everyone and everything. And like, if you said you're a hater at the beginning of the podcast, I'm a hater too. And sometimes I'm like, maybe I'm
Sorry.
hating a little too much. Sometimes
Yeah,
like
same.
Jordan's in the back of my head.
Yeah.
So it's that whole, we don't know what they're going through. So maybe look at it through a different lens sort of thing.
I think I already thought I was like an empathetic and compassionate person, but I think like post grief, feeling the low that you feel when you're like grieving so hard and like the isolation and like the loneliness that comes with grief that like nobody else understands. I do think it made me just like even more empathetic and compassionate person, if that's even possible. But I think it made me really start asking the questions of like, what's going on in their life. Because I think that piece of work is so often overlooked. We just like assume like that person's not performing well, or they don't really want to work here. They're not a good fit here. And I always approach conversations back then, not so much, but now definitely like, hey, what's going on in their life? Like we're humans.
It's a big part of what Simon Sinek talks about, especially like post-COVID world. Like, you don't go into the performance conversation of, hey, you haven't hit quarter over quarter. What the hell's going on? It's like, hey, how are you doing? Is everything okay? What's changed? What's different? It's tapping into that empathy and checking on the human being before you check on the task. That's one thing I tell all of our managers. You have to check on the human being before you go through your little task list. You're going to have time in your one-on-one. Like, ask how their weekend was. Ask what's new. Like, ask what they're excited about. Like, don't just focus on performance all the time, because then they just are like, oh, all they care about is my output. They don't care about who I am as a
Exactly.
person.
And we all want to be seen and cared about who we are as people, right? Like it's like such an easy thing that I think we try to teach so many managers, but they also just forget that you could win so much more favor if you just cared about the person across the table from you. Like, how wild of an idea. Like, they'll perform better if they feel like you care about them.
For sure. And we're staring at each other's backgrounds right now, and I think like
Yeah.
we let our personality come out. We have no problem doing that, and some people
Oh, yeah.
struggle. I was staring at your books when you stood up earlier. I was like, I can finally see what's back there. But yeah, like you let your personality shine when you're not always this manicured, wrapped up, perfect version of yourself. Like, nobody's perfect. Like, let people breathe a little bit.
My God, definitely. No, I'm so far from perfect. And people are like, you're so good at these things. I'm like, I am not. I am barely floating along most days. If you could see the other side of my office, it's just piles of clothes that I'm currently trying to fold. Like, I am that meme where like you take things out of the dryer and you put them down and you don't put them away right away. My like never ending life goal is to put the clothes away after I take them out of the dryer within a business day.
I hate making the bed and putting clothes away. Like, to that point, we moved offices 2 years ago, and I have a box still over here to my left that I've not unpacked. I'm like, I don't want to do that.
You are me. You and I are very similar. Well, that's for another episode, another day. The piles I make and my
Yeah.
inability to unpack anything. Most ATS tools feel clunky, cold, and complicated. Team Tailor makes it feel effortless. Built for modern hiring teams, Team Tailor combines drag and drop workflows, branded career sites, and smart automations that save hours without sacrificing the human touch. Because every candidate interaction, yes, even those rejection emails, shape your employer brand. Team Tailor helps you make those moments count. It's why brands like Oatly, Five Guys, and Happy Socks trust Team Tailor to turn hiring into a seamless brand experience that candidates remember for all the right reasons. Hiring should be simple, fun, and effective, and Team Tailor makes it all possible. I want to talk for a second about, belonging at work. My last episode before this one was about belonging at work, and I think grief is really interesting because I said earlier, it made me feel so lonely. Like, as somebody who thinks she has a lot of friends and a really good safety net and really strong relationships, there's really nothing more lonely or isolating, I think, than grief and loss. How did you experience that? Did you feel the same way, like either at work or in your personal relationships? Like, how did it show up for you?
Uh, yeah, it was tough. It was real lonely at first. 'Cause I was only 29. I wasn't that old. But
Yeah.
like a lot of my coworkers were 4, 5, 6 years younger than me, straight out of college, and they hadn't experienced that loss. So like that's the loneliness, like being the solo member of the dead dad club at work. That's not fun.
Yeah.
Because they don't, until you've experienced a big loss like that, you don't know how to like talk to people sometimes about that. But whenever I think about belonging, I always think about walking around the manufacturing floor with my dad at his work. Like 10 or 11, we would always take advantage of, they had a industrial sized trash compactor. So every house project that we did, all the trash
Cool.
went to that industrial trash compactor. And he let me like crush stuff, which was so cool. But like walking around the floor when he would take time off, he'd be like, "Oh, hey, here's this person. Here's what they do. They have 2 kids, just like or 3 kids, just like we do." That sort of thing. Like he knew everybody on the floor, and like even though my dad got in a fight with his boss, I found out later, like he was still like very aware of who was at work, what they cared about, what they were good at, like if they were a potential mentee that he could bring up and like teach them to do what he does. Like he was always aware of what they were doing, and like I saw the smile on their faces when like he would
Yeah.
walk up to them and talk to them, and like how much of a difference that made. And I was like, man, I want to do that one day. So like even though I'm not carrying on the legacy of manufacturing, I'm carrying on the legacy of like the Danny Boone charm at work. And I want people to feel like they are recognized and they are seen at work. Like that's a big part of what HR is all about. Sure, there's the legal stuff, but it's like if you can have people show up and feel like they are in a safe space and they can be themselves no matter what background they came from, no matter what they're into, like it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And that like because he passed, it shines through even more, and I'm like reminded of that. Same thing with Heather and Jordan. Like I want to honor that and show up and let people feel welcome.
I love that. It makes you feel, it's so lonely that it also just like makes you attuned to like everyone else even more. I can't even get over the fact that I used to think I was like so empathetic and so compassionate, and like really after loss is where I feel like I was so much more that. And it was such a lonely feeling that I also like to remind my friends too, like I was the first person to lose them. Like I kept sharing stories because I was like, someday you will experience this. And maybe if just because I've gone through it first and it is sad and lonely, like I also want to make all of you aware that like someday you will also experience this. And like my best friend who is great. I have several friends that like saw my father throughout our entire lives or heard stories about him after. And I just think of that as she like this best friend really encouraged me to like share more stories about my father. And I felt like something that is like very lonely was like the way I remembered him. And she was just like very encouraging to like for me to tell more stories about him to her. So like she could also engage in like little things that happened in my life that reminded me of him that I could say, or she could even point out like that thing that your dad loved, or oh yeah, like I know your dad would have also loved that. And it was, I don't know, she's a really good friend. So it was really nice to have that when you feel so lonely in everything you're dealing with. And then you're also thinking about like belonging at work where you're like, where do I belong when everybody here has not experienced the loss that I've experienced? Because I had the same thing, other than my boss, who had also lost a parent. Nobody else I knew at work had lost anybody. And then it was like a matter of time before one of my closest colleagues like lost her really good aunt. And so I was like able to also be there for her when she was struggling. And it's just really interesting. Like it's a lonely feeling, but can also breed so much belonging within your friend group, within your family, within work, if you just learn how to bridge that gap.
Yeah, the hey, this made me think of you or your dad or whatever it was. Like
Yeah.
those things make a difference. My dad was a big Harley guy, so like just any little Harley
Cool.
thing that people send me, like I get a good laugh out of it.
I love that. See, they wouldn't have known that had you not shared that. But I mean, it's just so interesting. Um, when I think about my grief moments. Honestly, I feel like I've been in a perpetual state of grieving since losing my father, because I lost my dad in 2019 and then my brother in 2021, 2022. I always forget what year we're in. And I've just been in this perpetual state that honestly, some days I think I'm just like functioning through the grief, and it's really hard. Like some days are really hard. I'll tell my coworker, like, I'm having a hard day. Like I need to take a beat. And she's really understanding of it. Like, what was one of the hardest parts of trying to like function at work when everything in your personal life felt like really unrecognizable?
All of it. Checking.
Breathing?
Yeah, reminding yourself to breathe, reminding yourself to like blink sometimes when you're just like staring at your computer screen, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, like checking email, talking to coworkers, and trying to stay in the moment when you're talking to them. Ch- Checking in on a status meeting, like status. It just like seemed
Yeah.
like so. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. The time between Thanksgiving and Christmas that we're all going through right now, where you're like, what is even the point? Can't this wait till next year? Like, let's wait till Q1.
But that at any time of the year as you're grieving. Yes.
Yeah, and another movie that comes to mind is Elizabethtown, which like hits
Mm.
even closer to home because that takes place in Kentucky. My family's from Kentucky, and like he's like going through the motions, and he's like doing it wrong, where he's like saying my condolences to people, even though his dad passed away, and his cousin like finally pulls him aside and is like, "You shouldn't be saying that. We should be saying that to you," because like you're just so numb, and you're
Wow.
you're like kind of doing what you think is right, but it's
Yeah.
the wrong thing. And big picture, nobody cares. Like you'll figure it out. Like it's just a good reminder. Like take your space, do what you need to like rewire your brain. And it's not an overnight thing. Like there's the 5 stages or 6 stages of grief, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like we all go through that Elizabeth Kubler-Ross little wave, and we get stuck in that pit of despair for a little bit of time. Some more than others. Like you got to climb out of it and do what you can.
Yeah. That's such a good reference. My condolences. That's so funny because it's such a good movie. I love Orlando Bloom and Kirsten Dunst, but I didn't even think about that. It's funny how those like movie moments really stick with us too. Like I love that you brought that one up.
Well, yeah, and that came out in like what 2004. That was 11
Yeah.
years before he passed away. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have this superpower too, where you're like, I feel like my dad's gonna pass away soon? Like it, and like 11 years was. I didn't think about it in the moment, but like when I
Yeah.
go back and rewatch that in between then and when he did pass, it was like, oh man, this is kind of like how it's gonna be, right? Because I have this huge family and all my aunts and
Yeah.
uncles were at my house, and like it was just like it's a lot to undertake, and
It's
it's gonna be
so
hard.
overwhelming. Yeah, dude, maybe the theme of the episode is it's overwhelming grief.
Yeah.
Grief is overwhelming. It really is. And you like, I don't know. I'm thankful that it shaped me to be a better person, because I think a lot of people maybe aren't as fortunate or really struggle with their grief. But I had such a strong support system from my family to my friends to my coworkers that I did not backslide into bad behavior, or like I didn't do things and then blame the grief on the things. Like I think, and I went to therapy. So like I feel really lucky that I was at the point in my life where I just had this really strong support system, because it is so overwhelming at times. And the boss that I had when I lost my dad was not the boss that I had when I lost my brother. And I felt the difference so much. So like, did anybody around you, like managers, teammates, friends, what actually helped you?
Uh, they showed up, to the funeral. They did the 3 hour drive to the Dallas area to come be there.
Yeah. How lucky. What good friends.
For real. And yeah, they had just been at my wedding too, like a couple weeks prior, obviously.
That's
So like
right.
it was that sticks out. Uh oh, man. Yeah, my boss giving me that time off to allow myself to grieve really made a difference. But those faces in the audience at the funeral, because I got up and spoke about my dad, like that will always. I had to take.
Fuck.
I wear contacts now, but like I was wearing glasses then, and I took my glasses off because I was like, I can't look at y'all in the
See.
face
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Like I need to just cry for a little bit up here. But when they showed up, that made a huge difference. They being on that kickball team with friends and having a weekly like disassociation period with them and being able to be close to them made a huge difference. Hallie and I also worked together right before we got married. She quit like as soon as we got engaged. But
an illicit love affair. Just kidding.
no, she was just like, I can't work with my husband. But like, so everybody
Fair.
knew her at work too. So like they were very sweet to her and like they were just a huge support system. The executives at Accruent at the time were a huge support system. Similarly here at Tech, when Heather passed away, and they, take the time you need, because it's the whole, oh, who counts for bereavement leave? Like, who cares? Your
Ugh,
family is your family. Everybody has a different definition. Like, Heather was not a direct brother or sister or parent or whatever, but they're like, it doesn't matter. Like,
exactly.
go take your time.
I hate bereavement policies that are like 3 days or that don't cover things like miscarriage. I'm like,
Yeah.
come on, like you can't. My loss, I don't think you can define loss in a policy. I think
No.
like if it's somebody that has impacted your, like it's not my, I'm struggling to say this, but like it's not up to me to decide how loss impacts you versus how it impacts me. It's up to me to like write a policy that is empathetic and all encompassing of the fact that loss looks different for every single person.
Yeah, there's no hierarchy for grief. Somebody losing a cat might feel the same as somebody losing a significant other.
Yeah.
You mentioned my dogs earlier. When Bodie's 11, when he passes away, I am going to be a puddle again. Like, I will not be able to work like for a little bit. I'll need time to grieve because he's my little buddy. Like, he was our, I don't want to be that kind of person, but he was our first son.
Child. Yeah, no, you
he,
can be
he
that
he
person.
was he was our fur baby. I hate that phrase, but he truly is. Like, when I'm at home, he follows me around everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scout, he's okay. We'll see about Scout, but
Yeah,
Bodie for
we'll
sure.
see how I go with that. No,
Yeah.
it's just like not up to us to define that. And that's what like really gets on my nerves about HR policies. And I kind of already thought bereavement policies were a load of shit already. Like I had lost a grandfather in the workplace and they were like, well, you only get 3 days. And I was like, well, my grandfather lives in Egypt and that's an 11-hour flight. So like, how would I get 3 days?
Yeah.
It takes me a day to get there, a day to come back. How could I only get 3 days to grieve a grandparent who I think is equally as impactful on my life as other losses I've experienced, right? So it's just a crock of shit. But like, I think when you surround yourself with the right people and the right company, and it's so fascinating. Like when I lost my dad, they were like, take as much time as you need. I was like, well, I have to like fly to Egypt. My dad's like wishes towards the end of his life was like, I want to be buried next to my father in Egypt. So I was like, well, I have to fly to Egypt to go do that. And they were like, take as much time as you need. I had just started at this job, like truly 3 weeks in, and I took a full month off. I remember coming back. I had started the beginning of April, and my dad died in the middle of April. And I remember coming back after Memorial Day. I had taken off a full month and I was like, I need to come back. And they were like, okay, only if you're ready. And I was like, well, I feel like I can't take more than, I didn't want to take advantage of a situation that had been so like, I don't know, compassionate towards me. Like they were giving me an extended period of time of leave. For my brother, I think I took like 2 weeks. And honestly, I don't know, like losing a parent really sucks, to be like so clear. Losing a parent really sucks. Losing a sibling is like such a different type of grief though. Cause I was like, I've lost my dad. Like I'll be okay. I'm not okay. I'm not okay years later. Like it is dramatically changed the structure of my family. Like my brother was the sibling that I was the most like. And I'm one of 4, so I'm the youngest. And when you kind of like lose your anchor or like your pillar in the sibling group, it's just tough to navigate it. And so that was so hard for me. And I didn't really have a supportive manager. Like I think he ended up asking me one time, how are you? And I just remember being like, you're going to ask me one time how I am, like never addressed it a single time after that. Not really a touchy feely kind of person. That's fine. But at the same time, I was like, one time, and I didn't really have any good teammates. Like my support system for my brother was my friends. Like I got no support at work. I think one of the executives was local to where I live now. And I remember he was the one that reached out to me and said, "Hey, my family is in the same area as you. I can't come to like support you because I'm in New York, but if you need anything, tell me. I will tell my family and they will come." And I just remember being like, wow, that's such a nice thing for someone to do when truly I was getting no support from anyone else.
It is truly mind-boggling, the manager who has like zero empathy or like zero feeling, not just empathy. Like when you tell them something like that.
I think sometimes they don't know what to say, but I always say, like, you can't let the fear of saying the wrong thing stop you from saying anything. Anything. You could have just Googled like what to say to a person. But I think he just like did not know how to connect with a person on that level. And it just like really showed, and it felt so lonely and such a difference, like a night and day difference I had from the boss who understood my grief intimately to a boss who asked me one time, "How are you?" And it never being resurfaced. And maybe I gave off the closed off vibe, George. Like maybe I was like, I don't want to talk about this. But I still think like in the role that we're in as HR, if we see someone hurting, we have to keep asking, "How are you? How can I support you? What can I do? What roadblocks can I remove?" Because that really sticks with people's minds.
It, yeah, and it's nice. I have a supportive boss now. Like there was something I was
Same.
having a hard time with recently. He was like, "Why didn't you tell me, man? Like just talk to me." And you know, like again, the baby, you're like, I could do it myself. I was fine. Yeah.
I'm
But he was like,
independent.
yeah, he's like, don't worry about it. Like whatever you need. Like he even
Yeah.
does this. Like if it's slow, he's like, take time, go take care of yourself, do whatever you need to do. That makes a
Yeah.
difference. Um, oh, I lost my train of thought, but you brought up something that stuck out.
The asking
Oh,
one time, "How are you?"
that yeah the man I had a manager when I attended Uncle Lewis's funeral, who I mentioned earlier, Benson's grandpa. Like I attended his funeral over Zoom, and then I came back into work at a different company, and my boss like didn't even care. Just like like that's such like a crappy feeling. Like when they're just like, whatever, sorry, like, and then they just like, anyway, let's talk about your performance. Like that's how the conversation truly went, and I was like, oh
Fucking
man,
selfish.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to be
How
here anymore.
self-centered how self-centered do you have to be to not even ask the person that thing?
Or be
It's
like, hey, go take some time. We'll talk
yeah.
later. Like things like
Or
that make a difference.
yeah, I mean, my current manager is our CEO, and he does this really sweet thing, which actually like might make me cry if I start talking about it. And he doesn't do it very often, but like at least once a year, especially around like my dad's birthday, or I mean, my dad's birthday was in April, and the passing he also passed in April. So like April is kind of not my fun month. Whereas like my brother passed in September, and then his birthday is in December, so Christmas is very hard for me sometimes. But my CEO does this thing now where when I like post about my dad, he always replies and says, "I know he would be so proud of you." And it's such a sweet thing that he does that I don't even think he knows how much it impacts me, because it's so kind to say, like, "I know how proud he would be of you." I told you I would cry. I'm together. I'm good. But I think like my CEO didn't even know me when I lost my dad, but he knows what a profound impact it had on my life. And so he makes sure to say things about it. And it really is, it's like night and day from previous manager I had when I lost my brother.
That is like such a sweet thing of them to do. Like, cause that, you know, that's again the baby. You're like, I just want my dad to recognize me. And like one conversation that sticks out, like a couple months before he passed away, he's like, he was talking to his brother. I remember what I was going to say earlier now, his brother David. And he was like, David, they were like having some dumb argument. And like I was with him in the car, and he's like, I don't give a shit. I just want George to be happy. That's what
Yeah.
he said. And like that was little things like that make such a huge difference. And I haven't lost a sibling. Any movie that covers like loss of a sibling, I can't handle it. Just like because
It's awful.
I imagine because Robert and Tim, they're 5 and 7 years older than me, and they're always there for me, and they always support
Yeah.
me. And like seeing Uncle David in the hospital when my dad was about to pass away and just how lost he was. And like, that's one of two times I've seen him cry, was when my dad passed away and when Granny Boone passed away, and just like how truly lost he was. Like he was in a fog. I could tell those couple days after he passed away. And I'm so sorry. Like, that's just, I can't imagine just like the pit that you fall into when that happens.
Yeah. I mean, not a competition of the grief games, but it's tough. And I mean, like, I watched this TikTok that sent me into a spiral. I had to like stop because I was crying so hard watching this TikTok. And it was an older sister who had written a poem for her younger sister. And the older sister was saying like how often she felt like envious of her younger sister because she was the one who like got away with like doing the least. Like, you and I both know, like, the youngest children's syndrome is like you kind of skirt by not doing much, right? Like, someone else will do it for you. So like it works out. And the older sister was like doing this poem talking about that, and then she said, and then I realized my younger sister will potentially be the one who has to sit in the front row of all of our funerals. And I like lost it, like hysterically sobbing, listening to this woman like read this beautiful poem about feeling envy towards her younger sister, but then realizing her younger sister, possibly, if everything goes according to plan, will be the one who has to bury all of them. And I was like, I'm fucked up. Like I sent it to so many friends, and all of my friends were like, hey, are you okay? Like, literally 3 of them called me and they were like, so are you okay? Like, what's going on? And I was like, this poem was just so beautiful, but it just like makes you think just everything you expect in life to happen the way it happens. I think the one thing we never plan for is losing someone. You never say like, I know my parents are going to die here, or, and like when a parent loses a child, like watching my mother grieve my brother, I was like, I was not prepared for this. Like, I thought it was hard enough to lose like my anchor, but then to watch a mother grieve their child, I was like, I'm not good. The things that my mother went through that day, I think of that day of like losing my dad and losing my brother through these lenses. And I remember one of the lenses of losing my brother, I think through like how my mom experienced that day. And I'm just like, damn, like I had it rough, but like she had it rougher. And I don't know. I think it just changes who you are.
Yeah. My Aunt Linda, I sat next, that's Heather's mom. I sat next to her at the funeral, and she was like a mother to me. Like when I was struggling, when I lived in Utah with depression and stuff. And, I spoke right before her at the funeral, but we talked a couple weeks ago, and she's just like, it's hard. Never could have imagined. I miss my kid. And like, it's every parent's nightmare to have to bury their kid.
Yeah. We don't plan for it. Like, that's the other thing that I think makes grief so hard to process. Like, we can plan for so many different moments in our life, but how do you plan for losing one of the most important people in yours? You don't plan.
You can't, because then you'll like second guess everything. I should have quit worrying about that. It's like I do with my dad sometimes. Like, oh man, I should have done this. But like, you did everything you could.
Yeah. Did it make you? Do you think like the grief is making you softer or sharper?
Softer for sure. With all like getting married, having kids, like moving into HR, all that stuff made me softer. But the grief for sure has made me softer. Like, my cousin Jordan, like he went through a lot of stuff in his life, and he had to deal with people judging him. And I always like, he's a big part of my grief corner. He has the photos back there. He took those. I sit and I think like, he didn't deserve that judgment from people. Like, why do we do that? People make mistakes. It's okay. Everybody deserves a second chance. I love Mitratech, but legal human resources software is not rocket science or brain surgery, that sort of thing. Like,
cancer, I feel you.
We can have a misstep or run into a hurdle, and we can figure it out. Like, and that's, not to we're talking about work, but a part of
Yeah.
our values is like fail fast, fail often. Like failure is
Yeah.
expected. You learn the most from failure. It's okay. Be a safe space for somebody. Let them show up.
Yeah. It's so funny. I used to, how we view ourselves and how we actually are really interesting to me because I think I'm so self-aware and there's a part of me that thinks like I was all edges before grief. Like I was like, I wouldn't want to let people see me cry. And I never wanted people to see me be weak. And I never wanted to be vulnerable. And I think that about myself, but I think my friends who have known me for over a decade plus would probably tell you I've always been a softie. I've always been a soft person. But I think grieving and going through grief made me softer in ways that I don't know if I really expected it. It made me kinder also in ways. And it made me, like you said, forgive and forget things way easier. I used to be a grudge person. I think a little part of me still has that chip on my shoulder, like when someone underestimates me. But I think after losing my brother and my dad, I'm like, this is not worth my energy. Like the way I let things go now is so different. Like I used to just marinate on things for days, weeks, months, like vendettas, agendas. And after my dad and my brother, I'm like, yo, life is way too short. Like I
Yeah.
might not even get to be, someday I might get to be older than my brother ever was if I'm lucky. I might not actually get that. Like he was like 42 when he passed away. So I'm like, I might not get that. So I'm just like, life is way too short for me to be worried about that email, that Slack, that thing. I really just want to like do a good job at work, show up as best as I can, and then go live my life. And I think that is soft in a very beautiful way.
My boss recently said, go to those who are buying what you're selling. Like there's always going to be someone out there who's picking up what you're putting down, however you want to phrase it. There's an opportunity. Like, yeah, let it roll off your back. Keep moving. Keep chugging along. You will get there. You will figure it out.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just like such a nicer person now, I think. Not that I was ever a mean person, to be clear. Not that I was ever a mean person. I just think I have a lot of like leeway with people now. I'm also just like, I don't know. The life is too short motto, I think has really, I don't know, really impacted me. I'm like, why am I going to be mad about an email? Why am I going to be angry about a Slack? Like, that's silly.
Well, you have the burn book behind you.
I do.
I was kind of somewhat jokingly referred to as Regina George on the kickball team at work. Like we had I wasn't that mean, but it was like we were very cliquey. Like we were all close. Like I married somebody who was on the kickball team, and like three of the people were in my wedding that were on the kickball team. We were very cliquey, and it's like like after getting married, my dad like I quit tapping into that Regina George mindset of like it's not worth it. Like I was never like callous towards anybody or anything like that. But if anybody can joke about you, then yeah, you probably need to like soften a little bit.
Yeah. I just like, also people are always like, you always say what you're thinking. It's like so refreshing. You're so authentic. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't I tell you what I'm thinking?
Yeah.
like why would I lie to you? Like I have no space for that. Like I hate lying and I'm not very good at it. So why don't I just tell you what I really think?
It's like what we coach leaders on feedback. Like you got to tell 100% true feedback. If they bombed a presentation, talk about it with them in a way that they can be open and receptive to that feedback. But you can't be like, hey, that wasn't half bad, and they just did a terrible job. Like that doesn't help them out. That's not good.
That's not good at all. There's so much to learn from, honestly, how we process grief to how we show up as leaders too, because you're right. Like by lying to someone or like sugarcoating it, like Brene Brown says, clear is kind. I'm not really sure I'm of the Brene Brown like crew, but I read that quote once and I was like, you know what? It is clear to be to be kind is to be clear. And I think with grief and how I like experience work, I'm just like, just say the damn thing. Like, you don't have to be a dick about it, but you can say, hey, you didn't do a good job on that presentation, and here's what I would like you to do differently in the future. And I see so many managers afraid to say the very clear and direct thing. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, again, to put this all into perspective, we are on like a floating rock in space and we're knowledge workers. Like, we're sending emails. Just say the thing you need to say and move on with your day. There's no point in harboring whatever it is you want, and then you just build that resentment inside of yourself, and then you're not able to like actually experience the good things that work has to offer you.
Yeah, if you hold back, the ripples, they turn into waves over time and they start to knock people off their feet. Like those behaviors, if they don't change, they're going to get worse and worse.
Yeah. I want to end with like a question, kind of a little bit of a reflection, honestly. Like when you look at who you are now, and we've been talking about it a lot, as a person and as an HR leader, what do you think grief ultimately taught you or made possible?
Well, funny, we were just talking about waves because grief definitely hits you in waves.
Mm,
But all jokes aside, the first waves, like they pull you under. You feel like you can't catch your breath, catch you off guard 100%. But over time, you get used to it. You build up resistance. Certain days on the calendar are particularly triggering, just like April is for
yep.
you, July is
Yep.
for me. Yeah, any and all holidays, really. Like it's like this sucks. Like without
Yeah.
my dad or my family here, you know.
Yeah. People, because we're in the holiday season now, I'm just like, the one thing I think about every holiday is I wish my dad and my brother were here.
Yeah,
Every holiday. Doesn't matter. Christmas, Thanksgiving just passed. It's my brother's favorite, was my brother's like favorite time we all got together. We don't celebrate Christmas, so Thanksgiving was big for us. And I was just like, damn, I wish my brother was here.
yeah, yeah. I wish my dad could see the kids opening their presents Christmas morning. Like I wish they could see like the little mannerisms that like I'm sitting like my dad sits right now, and like my
Yeah.
kids do it now too, and I'm like, holy shit, that's Danny Boone right there. Uh, yeah, like same thing with like music lyrics and movies or
Yes.
whatever. Like there's all these things that pop up and they catch you off guard.
Yeah.
Um, but if you keep putting it off, it's not going to help you out in the long run. You gotta embrace it, meditate on it, have a good cry. I think and this has been a very recent development where I've started to actually meditate and like think and
You're
sit.
telling me about this. Yeah.
And you will find yourself at a post workout cool down session at your local YMCA crying, and it's going to look awkward and you're going to feel awkward, but it's going to be worth it. Um, I'm down to about a 25% cry rate at this point during my
Hell yeah.
meditation sessions. But I like truly after doing that, I do feel like I have this newfound clarity. And it's like, okay, here's what I want to accomplish today at work. Like, cause it's
Yeah.
usually before work when I'm doing it. That makes a big difference. So, like, embrace the grief, work through it. Resilience is a skill you can grow over time, and grief plays a huge part in that. Like, and it's not just losing people, right? It's losing a good boss, losing a process, changing whatever, losing a favorite coworker. Like, all these
A
things
job.
happen.
Yeah.
Losing your job for sure. Yeah.
Grief is not, I think, just contained to the losses, like just losing a person or a figure in this earth. It's like the grief can be for so many different things, like a pet, a job, a partner, a friendship. There's like friendship grief too. Like I think it comes in so many different forms too. And I am a big movie and TV person. My dad loved going to the movies alone, which I also do sometimes. And one of my favorite movie quotes is actually from Mighty Ducks, which is so funny if you've seen the trilogy. It's one of my favorite trilogies of movies, not Lord of the Rings, shocking. But in the third movie, spoiler alert, Hans, who like starts the skate shop, he passes away, and Bombay comes back for his funeral, and he says to the kids, like, every time you touch the ice, remember it was Hans who taught you to fly. I'm like crying. I'm like, Hans, why'd you have to die? Hans, why? But it's also like, apparently, I don't know if this is real. I have to go look this up now because apparently it's a Norwegian custom to like touch the ice in remembrance. I don't know. But it was like it was such a part in the movie that like when I'm really sad about things, I like remember that quote. I'm like, remember all the things that I've become, all the versions of me I've iterated on and became and sought out being this person. It was all because of the parts of me that were taught to me by like grief, by my brother, by my dad, by everyone in my life. And I think that's also just like a beautiful celebration of loss. Like I became this person because I had to experience this thing. And I think it shapes every single relationship I'll have moving forward.
It's a great way to honor their memory. Like, and, even if not everybody knows, that you're honoring them in the moment. And
Yeah.
it, It's a good way to keep their legacy moving on.
The last quote, and I put this in my post. Every year I make a post about my brother around September and what it's like to navigate grief and loss as a person. But this year I put in another one of my favorite quotes, which is, the deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. And I think, like I said at the very beginning, like, this episode is not meant to be sad, and grief is often a sad thing. But I do believe that because I have experienced such a low in my life, because I've experienced this like loss of these people I care about, I do believe I feel the joys so much more. My highs are so high these days. And I just feel so grateful to, like, one, have this mic and cry with all of you. At least every week at this point. I'm running on like a running list of crying at least once in every episode lately. Sorry to everybody who asks me to do more happy episodes, but I mean, I'm thinking about that because I think, like, there's so much happiness to be had. Yes, there's a lot of sadness in the world. The world is like a very sad place right now. Like, reading the things that are happening in the world, watching everybody, experiencing my own loss. But I just think there's so much joy to be had, and that joy can change your life. Like, gratitude really changed mine. So I wanted to end on that quote because I just feel like there's something to have joy in your life at some point. There's something you could do to bring more joy to your life. I think. Was that good? I don't know if that was a good
I think
ending.
that's good. Embrace the joy.
Embrace the joy.
Yeah. Jump
into full steam ahead. We really killed it, George. Anyways, thank you for crying with me today. Please come back for another episode on all things life and grief and all the cool things you're doing, leading onboarding, and just all the amazing things you're doing. For people who want to get in touch with you, I ask this question every episode, and I'm shocked you all still let me ask and you haven't complained to me yet. Everyone always says LinkedIn, but if somebody wants to get in touch with you, George, how can they get in touch with you? I'm going to stop asking about this question. It's LinkedIn, isn't it?
It's truly LinkedIn. Yeah. My Instagram is private, but LinkedIn is the best way. We got 2 little kids. We're going to keep them as private as we can. But yeah, LinkedIn, George L. Boone is how you can find me if you do their /n/George L. Boone.
Wow. Thank you for spending time with me today, for sharing a lot of vulnerable things about yourself, and for crying with me.
Absolutely. This has been a pleasure. This is our own version of therapy that we just sat through.
If you made it all the way through the end of this episode and you are experiencing any sort of grief in your life, know that George and I are here for you, and you can reach out to both of us on LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
Yay. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. Keep up with all the latest HR resources by subscribing on Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you listen. And if you love I Hate It Here, tell an HR friend. I'll see you next time.